I want to kind of sit down with a piece of paper and kind of do a little sketching or flow charting and analysis before I ever do anything. Okay, so here, I'd say I'm going to make myself a workspace and I'm going to call it path. Now, I'm going to break that in, and I just put these columns up over here on the right to give you some idea of how you might want to think about going this. This is not required that you follow my stuff, because we're all different. This is the way I would set it up. Doesn't mean you have to. And I'm going to be very flexible on that. What we're looking at here is making you more efficient and quicker. Okay? And since this is our main access of command avenue, other than the keyboard, it's something we need to kind of look at. So I want to make one ribbon. I'm going to make a workspace called Path, but in that, right now, I'm just planning on one ribbon that's going to have all my 2D stuff in it. I'm going to have one ribbon with all my 3D stuff in it, one with dimensioning, and then one with miscellaneous. Okay? And that's kind of how I think I'm going to approach this. Now, as I go through it, I may change it. I may have one that has 2D and annotate all in one, if I can make that space work. But I don't really know until I get started. Now remember, panels feed tabs, which feed the ribbons in the workspace, and you just populate it. So what I'm going to do on 2D commands, and what do I do, and as I draft some widget in the 2D environment, and what commands do I use on a regular basis that I access off of the ribbons? And a good way to start is to just pop open drafting an annotation workspace and go through here and say, what do I need? And I'm just going to kind of, so for my 2D, and this is just a sketch. What I want to have in here is I want to have, let's see, let's look through here. I want to have array. Okay.
Your draw's not there. What about ellipse? Do you want ellipse?
Oh, that's on the modify. On my draw, I want the ellipse. If I can spell. Okay. Ellipse. Let's see, do I use anything else on here? I don't think so. I don't even know that I'm going to put this one on here. On layers, okay, so that's my 2D area right here. Is there any other commands that you might want to use in here? Look through it and see.
Properties. I mean, there are properties on it.
Well, make a choice, and then what you're going to do. So then I am going to make, I do want my layers. And I just think I probably want that and that. My blocks, that's really not my 2D drafting stuff. I do like this, but that's probably because I'm old school on this. I don't know if you folks are using it or not. Don't need the group at all, because I don't use group select. Utilities, I do need DD point style and stuff like that that's in there. Don't need the clipboard, because I use Control A, Control V. And the view base, that's going to be on my layout. So in essence, now I've kind of got an idea for what I want for my 2D stuff. Okay. Now, so I'm going to affect the draw and the modify, right? Because that's where these are at.
Wait, aren't you putting utilities on it? Get that one in there? Utilities?
Yeah, I want the utilities.
So why aren't you writing it?
Okay.
Yeah, here. It's spelled out.
Okay. Utilities. And this is where I'm going to kind of start. So for me to have this happen, what I now have to do is I got to go make a copy of my draw. I need to make a copy of my modify, a copy of my layer, and a copy of my util.
So a copy of the panels that you want.
Yes, I'm going to make a copy because I don't really want to come up like here, my draw is toast. Okay? But I want to leave these all original ones. They're just stacked in there. I can choose them at any time. But I'm going to make my own. Okay? And so I want to kind of get rid of those. And there's a couple ways to go about it. Where I've got this one stripped down this much, okay, I don't know that I'm really going to even make one. So let me jump into the CUI. So what I then need to do is before I do the workspace and all this other stuff, I've got to go deal with my panels and my tabs. I just want to check something here. Okay. So first thing I do is I go into panels. Now in panels, I'm going to click on the top one and make myself a new one. Now you can make a copy of an existing and then just delete stuff out. Many times that's the fastest way. Where I've got everything kind of just trashed, I'm just going to make a new one. So I'm going to make a panel, copy it here, and I'm going to call it 2D draw. And let's see, what else do I want to put in there? Something that I recognize with myself. Maybe I put a P up at the end. I don't know, whatever you want.
Yeah, but where are you getting panels? I mean, I got ribbons and tools, but where, and it's in a tools?
On the left-hand side,
No. Okay.
what you want to do is right underneath workspaces, there's quick access and then ribbons. Expand your ribbon,
Yeah.
and then you have tabs and panels.
I have tabs and toolbars. I don't have panels, I have toolbars. Tabs and toolbars. Ribbon, tabs and toolbars.
Oh, that's because you're editing over here. You're editing your workspace. You gotta say done.
Okay, that's, okay, we're good.
Yeah, and when you're editing your workspace, you can't really do everything else, right? Okay, so I want to make myself that panel. Now, on the panel, there's a couple ways you can go about it. Let me go down to the bottom. So they give you the launcher right off the bat, and they give you row 1 and a slide out. Now, on that, if I come into row 1 and just left click it, now I can go ahead and tell myself I want a new panel or a new row inside of the panel, whatever the case might be. And you'll get used to where these things fall in, because sometimes, yeah, I can't remember, is row 1 here or is it really column 1, okay, on how they're organized. But when you make one, you're going to see how it works. Now on this one, I'm going to come into row 1 and I want to add a command to it. Okay, well, I only use array, right? That's the only one. So I'm going to go down to the bottom and type in array and find the command. There it is right here. Okay. And then I'm just going to drag this up into row 1. Okay. So I've now added the array to row 1. Now the other thing I wanted in there was the ellipse command. So then I'm going to come down to the bottom and type in ellipse. It finds the command for me. Okay. And you can do whichever one you kind of like. I like the default. So I'm going to bring that up and I'm going to drag it into row 1 again. So now I've got the array and the ellipse in this panel. So in essence, basically, I'm going to have one panel right here at the start, and it's going to have these two commands in it. Now, do I want that panel to be done here and start another one for layers so that I got subgroups? Or do I add it all to this? It's really your choice on how you want it to work. Let's go ahead and add it into here. So I'll come back to row 1, and I'm going to say, give me a new row. So now I have row 2 down here. So I just added one. And let's put in layer. And I gotta go find it. Layer property, right there. Okay, so there's the one I want. So I'm just gonna grab that, drag it up into row 2. And let's see, do I want any others? That's probably it for now. Okay, so now I've taken, in essence, everything from here to here, and I've put it in one sub-panel that's gonna sit probably something about right here, somewhere in here, okay? Now, I'm just gonna add the utility onto that because it's already its own sub-panel, right? Now, if I want to edit that utility though, because I mean, if I come to the utility panel, that's this guy. Do I really want measure in here, or do I want it somewhere else? Do I even use these? You know, the list command, these? No, I don't, really. So if I want to edit that, what I'm going to then do is come back up here and find the panel that is util. And it should be somewhere towards the bottom. Where is my util? Haven't found it yet. Home utilities, right there. Okay, so here's home utilities. Row 2 has ID point in it. Okay? I don't need ID point. So I'm going to get rid of, well, what we probably ought to do is make a copy of this panel before we edit it, right? So we've still got the original. So let me just say duplicate and copy of home utilities. Maybe I just leave the name all the same and put PF in front of it, something like that. Or whatever you want to do. Now that's going to basically have everything in it, except I know row 1 has the measure command, which I like, has subpanel 1, which has row 1, row 2, and row 3. That's these down here. What's row 1 got? That's got quick select. Row 2, select all. Don't need that. Ribbon top, quick calculator. Okay. So I don't think that's even needed. So let me maybe point this out. So you see row 1 right here. It's got the measure command. That's that guy. Okay. And then under that, I have a sub panel that's row 1, row 2, row 3. There's row 1, row 2, row 3. Okay. And that's where it's placing those. Now I'm going to delete all those out of this. Okay. So all I do is come on sub panel and hit delete. Those will all be now gone. And maybe you go ahead and replace it and you say, you know what, instead of quick select, let's do area here. Or something. Or angle. Right? Because those are all under the measure geometry command. Maybe you do that. For me, I'm going to take subpanel 1 and I'm going to delete it. Now let's look at row 2, that's ID point, right? That's this guy right here. Don't need that one. So I'm just going to delete it. Row 3 is DD point style. I do use that all the time, right? And that's a terrible one to type, DD point style. Good. Give me a break. I've messed it up 5 times before I ever got it right. So I'm going to leave that one. Now that's PF home utilities, right? So I'm editing panels and getting them how I want them to be. And I'm organizing them because I kind of said, hey, this is what I want when I'm doing this type of drawing. Now when I've got all of those, I'm now done with that. And I'm going to then come back up. Once I've got that, then you can come back to a tab and place all of these items in a tab. Okay, so I'm going to expand tabs. And here I'm going to make a new tab. And I'll just call it PF all commands. Okay. Now, I know I want the PF utility and PF 2D draw in this tab. So I'm just going to make that blue. I'm going to expand my panels. And let's go find those PFs that I made. I never called them the exact same thing. But see if I can't find those again. Okay, there they are right there. Okay, so I got PF2D. Remember, that's just got the ellipse array and layers in it. So I'm going to left click and hold my cursor down. So I've got it selected. I'm going to just kind of hold to the top and it will go back up. Okay, and I'm going to let go right here on PF all commands. Okay. So now it has put that region that I created into that ribbon. So what I'm going to see is PF all commands is going to be listed right here. When I click on that, I'm now going to see that panel that's PF2D draw right there. The other one I want is PF utilities. And that's this one. And again, I'll just drag it on up. I really wish there's you can maximize this window and get a little bit more room so you don't have to do so much scrolling. And I'm going to just click right on there again and put it, this time it's right underneath. I can also just organize them by dragging and dropping. Now that's now a ribbon. Okay? Or a panel, I guess, depending on what you want to call it. Now I'm going to say apply and go. So there it is. I've created that. I don't see it anywhere on my screen because I haven't assigned it to anything. I've just made them. Okay, now, to how you add them is I can now come up and let me just jump into drafting and annotation, and I'm going to say I want to customize you. And then I'm going to come over to my ribbon tabs right here, and when I click on it, I've got all these listed. And you notice that they're all check marked on here. All the tabs that this workspace is using is just check marked. Okay. Well, there's my Pat2D one that I just made. So I'm going to check mark it and tell it, hey, I want you to use this one. If you want to get rid of one, just take the check mark off. Now, right now, you can kind of see it attaches it right at the end. But I can drag that and place it anywhere I want in there. And I want it to be the very first one. Now I'm going to just say apply. Now it's got my Pat, oh wait, I must be on the Pat workspace. Okay. So let me switch to 2D drafting and annotation. And there's my Pat, I must have overwrote that. There's my Pat, that one I made earlier today. Let me go check that again. So I want to see ribbons. I got Pat 2D there. Oh, that's grabbing the old workspace. Okay. And ribbons. Tabs. Pat 2D. Oh, I wanted PF all commands. Sorry, grabbed the wrong one. Okay. So we're going to go drafting and annotation. We're going to customize it. Palettes. It helps if you choose the right one. I'm taking off Pat 2D and Pat all commands. Drag that up to the top of that. And then apply. Okay, we'll get a different result here. So now I've got PF all commands where I've got my measure command right here. I've got my utils sitting right here. And you just start stripping these down. Now, since I did that, I have in essence replaced my home one, right? So I take that one off, because I don't need it. Does that make sense?
But then you wouldn't go back in and just delete the home.
No, you just tell it don't use it. So
You
if
just
I
uncheck
come
it.
in here and I say, I don't want that home one anymore, okay, then I would come here, go to my palettes, okay, but I gotta customize it first. Go to palettes. Okay. Now it's coming, oh, sorry, ribbons. So there's all the ribbons. Now if I come over here and say home 2D delete, I'm not deleting it. I'm just taking it off of this guy. Okay.
But can't you just leave it there in case you forgot something, you can go into it? I mean, it's
Yeah,
on
you want,
display.
yeah, you can leave it. It just leaves it on your screen. So if I come to this guy and say, you know what, I don't really want to use that. So let me come back in here, I'm gonna grab this. And we'll customize it. And we're gonna tell it from here, here's my, I gotta keep going into palettes. Here's my ribbons. And if I come over here, here's the ones, if I don't want to use Home 2D, I can either click on it here and say delete, or I can just expand this box and tell it uncheck mark it. Okay, it's now not, it's still there, but it's not going to show up with this workspace.
So if you delete it from the right, you won't delete it from both of them?
No, I don't think so. In fact, let's just check. I'll take annotation here, hit delete, say yes. Okay. Now, notice when I say delete, it's there, but notice over here, it's still got annotate check marked. So when I get out of here, this annotate's gonna still pop up with it. I think you were having that problem. So we need to take that check mark out. Now that one, of course, is one you would probably want to edit and do whatever. So take the insert off, output, parametric, visualize. And in essence, you're just kind of choosing whatever you want and don't want that you've made in. Add-ins, don't need any of that. Collaborate, don't need any of that. I don't ever ask anybody anything. Apply. Okay, and there it is. So now I've got my all commands, view, express tools, and featured apps, and that's all I'm really using. So the process here, sit down and say, what do I want when I draw 2D? It can be commands, it can be layers, it can be DD point style, it can be distance, all of these things that you use as you draft, right? And picture yourself sitting there drawing that welding widget. What are the commands I use for that? And then you can set yourself up regions for that, panels, assign those to tabs, and then do it. And the idea being, I'd come in and take that home 2D draw, and I make it, heck, you know, it probably doesn't need to be any bigger than like that. And I think, Gabe, you went and put all this dimensioning stuff on the other half of it. Okay, so you got rid of the annotate, combined two of those ribbons.
You have everything at once. Yeah, why not? That'd be nice.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different ways to look at it. But ultimately, you just gotta say, how can I make myself more efficient? And anytime your eyes leave this screen to go select something, you're not very efficient. Right? Which is why the keyboard is so nice, because you can just run it left hand and you're not taking your eyes off the screen. I'm not really sure what else to say on it other than You're just gonna have to get it, maybe do some screen dumps like Dave did, I thought that was a great idea. Maybe you just write it down like I did, that's the way I've always done it, just start on a sheet of paper and write stuff down. And then you gotta make the panel, assign it to a tab, assign it to a workspace. Done. There's a lot of things in there that you might want to look up, like what's a slideshow, what's a row? And maybe go to the text and find out where it is. What's a row? Oh, that's what it is. How do I put a flyout? Okay. Now where you see this guy right here with this little flyout. You can add all of that stuff in. Maybe you just have one little icon that says draw right here, and it's got a flyout. And all your draw commands just pop up for that one.
Okay.
Okay?